and welcome to Up in the Air. I'm Hailey Mitchell alongside Dakota Smith.
Up in the Air aims to bridge a gap between climate science, weather enterprise, and the business community.
Every week on Up in the Air, we'll be bringing you new content produced entirely by students in various meteorology classes at Penn State.
Tonight, we'll bring you the analysis of the current soybean and natural gas market, as well as an introduction to weather enterprise.
But first, here's Update in the Air.
President Obama recently received a letter from several important sportsman groups demanding more governmental action on climate change. Two of the groups who signed off on the letter include the Bass Angler Sportsman Society and American Fly Fishing Trade Association. They are especially interested in the health and abundance of fish in our nation's lakes, rivers, and wetlands. Already this year, we have observed several rivers in Colorado and Montana closed due to extreme water temperatures. Additionally, the ongoing drought in the Midwest has caused marshes to dry up and become uninhabitable for fish and other game. Climate change has impacted other non-aquatic habitat, including the plains, where ongoing drought and wildfires have burnt more than 9 million acres of habitat. Over the past 2 months, these sportsman groups have been optimistic as President Obama's State of the Union included a commitment to addressing climate change. The sportsman groups hope that their letter will encourage the White House to follow through with their plan.
On Tuesday, the head of New England's power grid operator told Congress in prepared testimony that the Northeast's growing dependence on natural gas to generate electricity is a serious threat that could cause more frequent power outages and increase energy prices. Natural gas is now used by power plant operators to generate more than half of the region's electricity, largely replacing a diversified mix of coal, oil, and nuclear power. While natural gas is a much cleaner fuel oil than coal and is increasingly plentiful as shale reserves are tapped, New England's limited natural gas pipeline capacity is constraining supplies. As a result, the region has experienced price spikes during periods of high demand, driving average wholesale electricity prices up by more than 100% in January and by more than 300% in February compared to 2012. While the winter season is coming to an end and the energy market readies for a slowdown in the need for heating fuels, natural gas prices are still up by 9%. One solution is to redesign the wholesale electricity market to give power generators more incentive to keep extra fuel supplies on hand rather than buying them on the spot market as needed. Another solution is an increasingly diversified profile of electricity sources, including more renewables such as wind power.
We all know that tornadoes can move and destroy almost anything in their path, but did you know they could hold and transport items over 200 miles? Nearly 2 years ago, a tornado outbreak plagued the entire Southeast and scattered thousands of people's belongings. In an effort to reunite these items with their owners, a quick-thinking Alabama resident, Patty Bouillon, created a Facebook page called Pictures and Documents Found After the April 26, 2011 tornadoes. This page has over 100,000 likes and has returned over 1,700 items back to their owners. Not only has this project helped tornado victims, but it has also led to the most comprehensive tornado debris dataset ever created. The dataset found that the majority of items traveled between 125 and 200 kilometers. It also found that only paper items could travel over 150 kilometers. Scientists hope to use this dataset to predict how tornadoes will scatter debris in the future.
Although it hasn't yet truly felt like spring in central Pennsylvania and probably won't for some time if the current outlooks verify, researchers across North America have recently recorded data indicating earlier springs than in past decades. While satellites can capture the global sweep of seasons across an entire hemisphere, there's no substitute for fieldwork when it comes to gauging the local effects that most scientists agree contribute to climate change. To chart the advent of spring, thousands of volunteer naturalists are logging when cherry trees and lilacs first blossom, when monarch butterflies and hummingbirds fly north, and when robins first begin to nest. Federal records like these show that the annual growing season in much of the U.S. is 2 weeks longer now than 1 century ago. Additionally, a new NASA-funded study found that shrubs, grass, and other vegetation are growing more vigorously and spreading farther northward than 30 years ago. But to be sure, the national effort is just beginning. Terrestrial ecologist Stephen W. Running at the University of Montana said that we can't ask questions about whether there is any kind of climate trend in these records until we have 20 or 30 or 40 years of data. Until then, I suppose that one will be up in the air.
There are several factors that can affect this supply and demand. When it comes to supply, these factors include the amount of natural gas being produced, the amount being imported or exported, and the amount in storage. On the demand side, economic growth, weather, and oil prices all play a big role. Every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Energy Information Administration, or the EIA, releases the weekly storage report for natural gas. This report summarizes how much gas has been withdrawn or injected into the underground wells around the United States. Extreme weather and forecasted extreme temperature anomalies can drive prices upward in an anticipation of either increased demand or decreased production due to these events. Most of the time, these forecasted weather events are taken into account ahead of time and the market responds accordingly. Some of the extreme weather that can disrupt the supply includes hurricanes, snowstorms, and extreme cold temperatures. When there are extremely cold temperatures in the south or west, wells run the risk of what is called a well freeze-off. If temperatures drop below freezing and water accumulates on the wellhead, it can freeze shut and stop the flow of gas. This temporarily halts production from these wells, and thus the amount of gas available for injection into the storage wells decreases. Weather also impacts the demand of natural gas. Many homes and businesses use natural gas for heating and/or electricity. It is likely to see that once temperatures get cooler, demand of natural gas rises. There are a few charts that will show you the price movement of the future contract. One of the most common is called an open, high, low, close chart. Each vertical line represents 1 day of trading. The dash to the left depicts the opening price, while the dash to the right is for the closing price. The top of each line represents the highest price that was seen on that day, and the bottom of the line represents the lowest price. Although there are a lot of things to take into consideration when speculating on futures contracts, the main thing to remember is to buy low and sell high.
This candlestick chart shows May 2013 soybean futures contract prices and its trend for the past 6 months. On Monday, March 18, 2013, at 2 p.m., the price was around $14.07 per bushel, which was down about 19 cents from the close on Friday, March 15, 2013. For the past week, May 2013 soybean futures prices have been experiencing a downward trend with a loss of 73 cents per bushel.
The weekly export inspections report, ending March 14th, supported falling prices in the market, with soybean inspections reaching their lowest value of the marketing year. On the other hand, bulls in the market are focusing on suffering logistics in Brazil due to poor infrastructure and port delays of about 2 months, forcing soybean prices to rise. This picture demonstrates the traffic-prone route to the main port in Paranagua, Brazil.
The GFS 2-meter maximum temperature forecast for the next 7 days suggests that Brazil will experience around normal temperatures of 28 degrees Celsius, whereas Argentina will experience slightly below normal temperatures in the first half of the forecast period. These conditions are somewhat favorable for the harvest. The GFS 2-meter minimum temperature forecast for the next 7 days anticipates Brazil will experience above normal temperatures, while Argentina will experience below normal temperatures. However, Argentina should not expect an early season frost due to the minimum temperatures staying above 0 degrees Celsius. The NCEP 10-day precipitation forecast predicts Brazil to encounter wet conditions, which could negatively impact the harvest. This model also forecasts Argentina to be on the drier side, which is favorable where the harvest is occurring and detrimental to the areas where the soybeans are still in the development phase.
The latest WASDE report, released on March 8, 2013, kept the United States soybean supply and use projection for the 2012-2013 growing year unchanged this month, leaving ending stocks at about 125 million bushels. In addition, the total projected soybean production from Argentina was decreased by about 1.5 million tons to 51.5 million tons.
For Up in the Air, I'm Julie Hickox.
And I'm Cassandra Kreckman.
Ever notice streets covered in spider-like webs or think Jackson Pollock went crazy with a tub of white paint on the highway? Well, it's not spider webs or paint, it's actually leftover salt from road crews plowing away snow after a recent winter storm. 50 years ago, road crews coated our highways with about 1 million tons of salt. That number has exploded to more than 20 million tons of salt dumped on U.S. highways and sidewalks these days. Though helpful to us drivers, this can pose a big problem for freshwater fish and other wildlife vulnerable to the extra chloride introduced by the salt. We need to be careful where that salt mixture ends up when digging out from beneath a blizzard. Road crews these days are becoming more environmentally conscious and have developed new techniques to distribute salt more evenly and effectively, avoiding bouncing salt off the roadways. They now also mix salt with water before spreading it on roads, cutting back on the overall salt use. The liquid salt mixture prevents snow and ice from sticking to the pavement and is better for the environment. But that's only half the battle. When it's time for you to shovel that nuisance away on your own property, make sure to keep that salty snow mixture away from nearby plants and streams, and you just might have a better fishing season.
The weather is all around us. From getting the kids ready for school in the morning, to planning our weekends, to more importantly keeping us safe ahead of severe weather, the public depends on weather information every single day.
The meteorology community goes well beyond the friendly face presenting the 7-day on the news. There is an entire weather and climate enterprise in the United States that is unlike any other in the world. The weather and climate enterprise is the cooperation between 3 sectors: public, private, and academic. Each of these 3 sectors work interconnected with each other to provide the best weather and climate data to the United States public on a daily basis. The most visible of the 3 branches is the private sector, which consists of private companies that take weather data and provide it to the general public. Companies such as the Weather Channel, AccuWeather, and WeatherBug modify weather forecasts to suit the needs of their customers through technology and communication. Such things as weather apps and interactive websites are becoming increasingly popular methods of communicating a forecast. Your more traditional local weatherman is also part of the private sector.
While it is the job of the private sector to make weather data understandable to the general public, they don't typically collect their own data. This is one of the primary jobs of the public sector. The public sector can also be thought of as a series of government groups that utilize our tax dollars to fund data gathering projects and networks, provide forecast maps, and perhaps most importantly, issue severe weather advisories. In fact, the mission statement of one of the main arteries, the National Weather Service, is to protect life and property and promote a healthy economy.
The smallest yet still vital member of the enterprise is the academic sector. Not only does it cultivate the meteorologists of tomorrow, it develops new scientific knowledge of the atmosphere around us through research. This research is then used by the government to improve weather prediction models, better our understanding of severe weather, and most importantly, more effectively communicate weather events in the interest of public safety.
While each of the 3 sectors has a main goal in their contribution to the enterprise as a whole, it is harder to define specific functions for each group. For example, data collection is done somewhat in each of the 3 groups, but it is primarily conducted by the public sector. As a way to handle the delicate balance of responsibilities, the Commission on the Weather and Climate Enterprise was created to address the concerns of all sectors and maintain an efficient and forward-moving community of meteorologists. Much like other industries in today's society, the Weather and Climate Enterprise faces constant pressure to remain as relevant and reliable as possible. Groups like the Commission on Weather and Climate Enterprise published a study called the Fair Weather Report, which concluded that the most efficient setup is to set loose guidelines rather than try to define rigid boundaries for each sector. The unique and prosperous Weather and Climate Enterprise has set the United States apart as one of the world's powers in understanding the complexities of the atmosphere.
For Up in the Air, I'm Brianna Harris.
And I'm Heather Waldman.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. I'm Hailey Mitchell.
And I'm Dakota Smith. Make sure to join us next time Up in the Air.